comparability between the functioning of the three. The amendment is being brought in as one separate but one integrated bill. And these amendments have not been brought in as it is without much of a work. Quite some time, different committees have gone into it. Particular and the most recent one being the Meenakshi Datta Ghosh Committee, which had come up with several recommendations. It was formed in 2017, sometime in April, and which had given its recommendation by 2017, September itself. And many of these recommendations given by the Meenakshi Datta Ghosh Committee, with minor tweakings, have been brought into this Act. So why is it that we're bringing it now? And of course, after quite a lot of consultation, is in the last 8 years, we've witnessed considerable change, progress, growth, and also economic development, with a lot of legislative support coming in to make it easy for companies, both for entry and for exit. The IBC code, and periodically amending the IBC code. As you know, this House is quite aware that we've come periodically to amend the IBC Act, and also to make it sure that IBC Act or the Companies Act, which also went through quite a few amendments, and the LLP Act, all of them represent the rapidly changing economic profile, and also making sure there's more space given for LLPs, for instance, under which come the startups and so on. So, since the LLPs are also gaining a good space in the economy, it was necessary for us to have a robust audit certification from the professionals. Now, it is also important that audit certification and also the quality of audit, therefore, will have to be kept in mind and improved so that there is a favorable investment climate in the country. And above all, when all of us are looking towards greater transparency, better managed, board-driven managed companies, and so on, the sanctity of an audited financial statement gains so much of an importance that we need all the stakeholders, whether they are promoters, whether they are investors, whether they are the employees, all of them should have greater confidence in the kind of statements which the audited statement is certified by a chartered professional. And therefore, at this time, if there is a necessity for reviewing the SR, the self-regulatory kind of a mechanism with which most of these institutes function, we are only doing it because we will be globally aligning ourselves. Most of the countries, whether it is the US or the UK or Australia, Canada, South Africa, all of them have such systems. In fact, in the United States of America, every state has its own body, and not just one, there are many bodies within that, and the governor of the state appoints many of these members who regulate these bodies and so on. So the world has moved further and further away to have a greater, transparent, accountable, and also a process in which everybody sits in to judge and also to see how the functioning happens. And therefore, at this time for India to look at how these three institutions can be, because they are very important pillars of corporate governance, especially together with the board of a company and the management of the company, this would be the third most important pillar for greater professionally managed and efficiently managed companies. And that is why we need to have these amendments brought in, and brought in because also from 2006 globally, you see an international awareness and also a body which now has come together of independent regulators, and it is a big forum. The International Forum of Independent Regulators is also now coming to say what are the guidance that globally we can give to each other, which are the best practices which can be adopted. And therefore, we have thought it fit that at this stage we come up with this consolidated amendment bill. I understand also that concerns have been expressed by members if this is going to compromise the autonomy of these institutions. And in particular, if the coordination committee which is coming in will change the way in which the independent functioning has been affected all these years, will that get affected or will that get compromised? I want to state up front, sir, that there is no proposal here or no intention here to impinge upon the autonomy of these three institutions. Not at all. There is no proposal, not even a faint intent to dilute the autonomy of these three institutions. The three institutes at present are responsible for all the functions concerning the qualification, licensing and regulation of their conduct. And they will continue to perform those functions. Let this be recorded. They will continue to perform those functions. As regards the fee from the students, and the institutes had earlier also the full powers, that is also not being touched. So even that will continue. In fact, the council is being given full autonomy to decide fee as regards registration of members and certificate of practice. At present, to increase the fee for registration of members and certificate of practice beyond a limit prescribed in the Act, approval of the government is required. But this is being dispensed with. The council will have full powers to fix even such fees. In fact, that is being given, and the government, which had an indirect role in it, wherein after a point the council had to come back, that is also being given back to the council. The council will also be continuing to administer the funds as per the provisions of Section 18, and there will be no government role in that as well. So there's actually no change even in the composition of the council responsible for the management of the affairs of the institutes.
What about disciplinary mechanism?
So in the proposed amendment, sir, the council shall continue to constitute these bodies, the Board of Discipline and the Disciplinary Committee, as per the existing practice. Government will not constitute them. I'd like to reiterate that government will not constitute them.
Chairman will be from outside.
So there will also be no change in the number of members in these bodies. However, sir, majority will be of non-members of the institute, which is the global best practice which we want to bring in here. Being elected members, sir, President and Vice President shall not be heading the disciplinary committees, and the council members shall not head the Board of Discipline to avoid conflict of interest. That probably therefore responds to some of the questions which are being raised even before I've started speaking, sir. So the collaboration and the greater responsibility to the Council of the Institute for nomination of experts and persons of eminence has been proposed, and that is through these amendments rather than taking away their powers. So, in a way, it is they who give the names, and it is that which gets appointed. Very quickly, just to get a picture of what we are talking about. So in the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Board of Discipline, the BOD, existing position since 2006, sir, is the BOD is a 3-member body. There is a presiding member officer who is a council member, 1 member who is nominated by the government, 1 member who is nominated by the council. What we propose in this set of amendments is for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the presiding officer shall be a non-CA nominated by the government from out of the panel prepared and provided by the council itself. 1 member who will be a non-CA nominated by the government, again from out of the panel prepared and provided by the council itself. The other member will be nominated by the council from out of a panel of members of the institute to be prepared by the council. Now, this is the proposal, and this again falls back on the council itself to propose the names, give the panel, from which the government appoints somebody. And having a non-CA as presiding officer is very much in line with the global best practices. And if people have asked a question saying, how will a non-CA understand what the whole thing is about? It's a technical thing. They may not be able to understand. Absolutely not founded at all, sir. These doubts don't have a basis, because everywhere else in the world, a lay person sits as a chair while the other members are all CAs, and they can always guide the council or the BOD to take a call. And this brings in greater transparency, a greater fresh outsiders approach to the issue. So in the disciplinary committee, sir, if this is what is on the BOD, the disciplinary committee, which is a 5-member body, the existing composition since 2006 is that the presiding officer is a president or vice president of the council itself. 2 members are nominated by the council. 2 members otherwise are nominated by the government. So that is the existing structure. Now, what we have proposed in this set of amendments is that the presiding officer shall be a non-CA nominated by the government, but from out of the panel prepared and provided by the council. 2 other members are non-CAs nominated by the government again from out of the panel which is prepared and provided by the council. Then 2 members are nominated by the council from out of the panel of members. The institute shall prepare this panel of names being prepared. Sir, I move, similar is the structure for the company secretaries and the cost accountants institutes also. So I very quickly move to the related issue, Honorable Chair, when you from there asked, saying, won't it defeat the purpose of avoiding conflict of interest between the administrative and the disciplinary arm of the institute? A very concerned question. And I wanted to answer this by saying the panel of the presiding officers and the lay members will be prepared by the council in accordance with the regulations which will be framed. So they'll have to go by that. They will be experts in the different fields as mentioned in the bill. So it's not going to result in conflict of interest because the regulations will guide them. The proposed amendments in the 3 acts governing the 3 professional institutes without compromising their autonomy seeks to make the councils or the institutes themselves more responsive and accountable. And therefore these steps are being taken with a conscious attempt to make sure that we are neither undermining the autonomy nor are we bringing a situation of conflict of interest, which is a question which you have very rightly raised, sir. Sir, as regards the coordination committee, Professor Saugata Roy has been very concerned about it from the minute I started speaking. As per the proposed bill, the coordination committee will comprise of the president, the vice president and the secretaries of the 3 institutes, quarterly meeting of which shall be held under the chairpersonship of the Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which is the administrative ministry of all the 3 institutes. It may be noted here, and I think it's very important for us to seize this fact, that the 2 other institutes, Institute of Cost Accountants of India and SI, have not objected to the constitution of such a committee. After all, when we did stakeholders consultation, all the institutes gave their respective input, and the ICSI and the cost accountants did not have an objection. The ICAI, in a meeting dated 23 September 2019, under the chairmanship of the Secretary of Corporate Affairs, had also agreed for the constitution of a coordination committee. Now, the coordination committee, sir, has been proposed for the development and harmonization of the three professions, and therefore this is not going to undermine them. In fact, if I can move quickly on giving comparable examples, IIMs among themselves have a coordination committee. Indian Institute of Management. IIMs have a committee among themselves, coordination committee. IT also has a coordination committee among themselves. And these have actually been very effective in having greater synergy among these institutes. And in fact, if I may highlight, and it might be time appropriate for me to highlight, that the IT's committee, the coordination committee, is headed by the minister himself. So this worry that, that profession's person with expertise in that field, experience in the field, only can sit as a chairman is completely disproved by the fact that the IT's chairman is the minister himself. So similarly, the point that I would like to highlight here is in the year 2000, the ICSI, that is the Company Secretaries Institute, and the ICAI, Chartered Accountants Institute, and also the Institute of Cost Accountants, among themselves, formed a coordination committee through an MOU. So it's not as if this is the first time they are bringing a coordination committee. In the year 2000, through an MOU, these three institutes formed a coordination committee, but it has not just taken off. Actually, the absence of coordination is what is standing out, despite this having been formed in 2000 through an MOU. So, and again, to highlight for the reference of the honourable members, coordination committee will not be issuing directives at all. It is more to manage the funds of the institute and other things, which people tend to doubt if there will be a direction given by the coordination committee about how resources will have to be used. No, not at all. It's not going to be doing that. And therefore, that aspect, the governance and the management of the resources of the institutes, are going to be governed by Section 18, which is the practice which is existing now. Also, sir, a non-standing committee. For us who are constantly referring to standing committee in the Parliament, this expression was a bit of a discomforting one for me, but that is it. It is called the non-standing committee of a particular institute which has been proposed by the ICAI, saying you can have a particular institute having a non-standing committee and have this taken care of. When we started talking about the absence of a statutory backing for this kind of a thing, this was suggested, saying a non-standing committee could work in that place. Sir, in order to make the coordination effective, I think it's important that periodic meetings with the given structures held, and that is only possible through a very institutionalized framework, and that is why we thought we should go through this route. So there, I move slightly to a different issue, sir, that again, on the composition of the BOD and the DC has been repeatedly raised by all members. I think the global best practice is something which I already mentioned. Globally, the conduct of chartered accountants, particularly who are auditors of public interest entities being those which have a certain stipulation, if I can just go to state them in specific. What are public interest entities, sir? They are, first of all, listed companies, sometimes even unlisted companies, but which have over 500 crore paid-up capital, or which are over 1,000 crores of annual turnover, or those with over 500 crores in terms of loans, debentures, and deposits. So these are the public interest entities. So globally, auditors who deal with public interest entities are regulated by independent regulators. I'll just name a few for it. In the United States of America, it's the PCAOB, the FRC in UK, the ASCI, the ASCI in Australia, the IRBA in South Africa, the CPAB in Canada, all of whom are independent regulators. So even in India, on similar lines, we set up, I think in 2018, the NFRA, the National Financial Reporting Authority. The full-time members of NAFRA at present are not members of the institute. So if NAFRA, which deals with auditors of public interest entities, both listed and unlisted because of the size of the operations, the proposed amendments which aims to bring that independence and autonomy with members who are not members of those institutes also becoming a part of the disciplinary committee, I think we are only matching ourselves with global best practices. And there's nothing to worry if we are undermining our institutions. On the contrary, we'll be strengthening them because greater independence, greater transparency, and greater outsider looking into the affairs of the bodies. As I said earlier, sir, the International Forum of Independent Audit Regulators, which was a body which has come into existence in sometime 2006, have been suggesting these, and we are only aligning ourselves with the global best practice. Also, the guiding principles which have been given by the International Federation of Accountants is also something which is an international NGO, and it's a global advocacy organization. In fact, the ICAI, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, are a member of this International Federation of Accountants, and they have given these guidelines. So we are taking that on board. Again, coming to the good work which standing committees of our parliament do in these regards. 2003, sir, the Standing Committee on Finance, whose tenure was between 2004 and 5, in its 11th report, discussed a lot of these amendments. And I would like to quote one few sentences from there. Quote, "The committee recommend that such a body should be headed by a person not below the rank of a joint secretary belonging to the legislative service. 2 members should be from the council, and 2 shall be outside experts from the field of law and accountancy," unquote. So that's the standing committee of this House sometime in 2005 mentioning the same thing, and it has taken us nearly 15 years to arrive at that step now. As I said earlier, in UK, the United States, South Africa, have all adopted this, and it is not something which we are doing for the first time. So there were questions raised about why a complaint pending completion of inquiry is being kept in public domain, which is also going to be enabled now. So this is a question which Honourable Member Bhartruhari Mehtabji raised, Adhirji raised, saying putting status of actionable complaints in public domain or entering them into the register of members, would it raise doubts about how the members being treated? Will it be victimizing him? Will there be an element of harassment? And so on. That's not the intent at all, sir, and does not intend to victimize the member. The manner and the interval of putting such information out in public domain and also entering in the register of members shall be in accordance with the regulations framed by the council itself. So there cannot be an element of discretion saying, I don't like somebody, so I'm going to put them there and publicly shame them or victimize them. Cannot happen. It may be noted that the 2 other institutes, which is the company accounts and also the company secretaries, have not at all objected to this proposal. So mind application has happened from the different institutes, and we've gone only in the direction in which majority opinion has emerged. So the rationale for provision of audit by a panel of auditors maintained by CNAG was raised by Honourable Member Supriya Sule. She questioned as to why this should happen. Sir, at present the ICAI, as per the provisions of the existing Chartered Accountants Act, the Council may appoint any auditor to audit its own annual account. And in this proposed amendment that we are bringing in now, we have provided that the Institute will appoint an auditor from a panel of auditors which is maintained by the constitutional authority, which is the CAG. So you can always pick up an auditor. Maybe that auditor is already in the list of CAG. That's fine. But now we are saying, turn it this way around. Please do pick it up from that panel of auditors which is listed by the CAG, which is a constitutional body, just gives a greater heft to the audit of the institutes. And therefore, it's, I think, a progressive step towards bringing greater transparency. And again, on this matter as well, the company secretaries institute, as a matter of practice, is getting audit done through a panel of auditors maintained by the CAG already. So if one of them is doing it, it might be a best practice the others also adopt. So there were legitimate concern about why the term of the council members, the Chartered Accountants Council, is being reduced, whether it would limit the chances of others and so on. Just for the clarity, sir, at present the term of the council of the Chartered Accountant, ICAI, is for 3 years, and a member can remain a member for another 3 consecutive terms, which means a total period of 9 years. The ICAI has been demanding to increase the term of the council for a long time. They've been asking for it for a very, very long time. Further, the term of the council in the Company Accountants of India and the ICSI is already 4 years. It's already 4 years. The provision in the CA Act for the ICAI is being aligned with the rest too. So while the term of the council is being enhanced to 4 years from 3 years, the term of a member is being restricted from 3 terms to 2 terms. So in the place of 9 years, which he was otherwise entitled in the present dispensation, a member can remain in the council only for 8 consecutive years. So 2 terms, 4 plus 4, 8 years, substantial time for doing great service and reform. So there was this distinction made between an auditor, the individual, and an audit firm. Currently, sir, there is no provision for a separate register of firm and proceedings against the misconduct of firms in the 3 acts. Currently, in this consolidated amendment bill that we are placing before the House, this is now being brought in. So auditors could have been acted upon till now, and they can continue to be acted upon even now per the 3 individual acts. But firms could not be touched. Whereas what we are bringing in here is that provision which will give them the ability to be able to touch the firms as well, not just the audit, in case of gross omission and commission, which they may want to take up. So the last few inputs, sir. The Quality Review Board, on that questions were raised as to why they should recommend cases to the Disciplinary Directorate. I think it was Rahul Shevale-ji who raised this question. I can't see him here. So ICAI, during consultations, wanted this provision. In course of review of quality audit reports sometimes, the QRB comes across irregularities in audit reports. Through this amendment, the QRB may refer such matters to Disciplinary Directorate to proceed against members of such auditors. So it is a provision which gives one more window for recommendation from the QRB for action to be taken. Sir, I think it was member, I can't see whether he's here, Thomas Charikadan. Oh, yes, sorry. He had raised this question, sir, about bar councils and also these institutions now which are getting regulated. Is there a comparison of the disciplinary mechanism of the institutes like Bar Council, Council of Architecture, NMC, and so on? Sir, bar councils are not a monolith body. Since there are multiple state bar councils having disciplinary committees in each state, unlike the chartered accountants, cost accountants, and the CS institutes. So multiple bodies exist already in them, not here. Moreover, these three institutes are performing all the functions together, including students' registration, enrollment, conduct of examinations, registration of members, licensing and regulation of their conduct. Unlike the legal profession where multiple colleges exist, they can recruit, enroll students, train them, put them on, and then they become the member of Bar Council. Whereas here, that function, inclusive of profession, inclusive of discipline, everything is done by this one monolith. That's the essential difference, other than
of India is